Javi OG, your host, and today we are doing a non-edited, non-nonsense live. And we got some music also to go along with the flow too as well. All right. Thank you, folks, for checking in. We are doing a true live today. We will return in 30 seconds or less than a minute to continue our live broadcast. Okay, welcome everyone. I thank you all for being here today. I want to speak from a place of history, reflection, and responsibility. I won't keep you all too long, but I'm not going to talk from anger, not from hatred. There's a lot going on, not from a desire to divide either, but from a deep respect for where we come from and a clear understanding that history does not disappear just because people are uncomfortable with it. Now, I will have a few interruptions today because I have baby Victor here with me and he has a cold. So he's a little bit miserable, but it's all good. A lot of us have babies and it is what it is. It's just that a lot of people try to mask it behind the mic, don't we? But the reality of it is that we live just a normal life, each and every one of us. I want to say this slowly and clearly, but from the beginning, I am not here to start any trouble at all. I'm not here to call for violence, anything of that sort. And I'm not here to recruit followers or create blind loyalty, right? I'm here to speak about history only and about how history lives inside of us, whether we acknowledge it or not. Now, because history does not sit quietly in books, history does not stay locked in museums, history walks with us, right? History shapes policy. And history shows up in our neighborhoods. It shows up in our neighborhoods, our schools, our food systems, and our interactions with authority. And when people say leave the Black Panthers alone or leave the Black power in the past, what they are really saying truly are, whether they realize it or not, is that they want history to stop speaking. That's what they're saying. But history does not stop speaking just because it makes people uncomfortable. The Black Panther Party did not come out of nowhere. It did not emerge from chaos or hatred or a desire to destroy. It emerged from conditions. And to understand the Panthers, you have to understand the conditions that made them necessary. Now, in the 1960s, Black communities across the United States were experiencing routine police brutality with little to no accountability. There were no body cams, right? There was no social media. There was no instant public pressure, right? If something happened, it often stayed buried. Okay. And if someone was harmed, it was often ignored. If a family cried out, they were told to be quiet. Now, Black people were expected to trust a system that repeatedly demonstrated it did not value their lives equally. So the Panthers did something radical but legal. They studied the law, they studied the Constitution, and they studied police codes. They learned their rights because knowledge is protection. And when they monitored police, it was not about provoking conflict, right? It was about presence. It was about witness. It was about saying, we see you and we know the law too. Now that distinction, it matters. Why? Because self-defense is not violence. Let's make that clear. Awareness is not aggression. Let's make that clear. And discipline is not chaos. But the image that was sold to the public at that time focused, and even now, focused almost entirely on fear, because fear is easier to control than truth. Now, what people often forget or were never taught is that the true heart of the Black Panther Party was not weapon. It was not weapons. It was service, community. Children were going to school hungry. So the Panthers, they fed them. How? Families lacked health care, so the Panthers created free clinics. Elders needed transportation, so the Panthers provided transportation. People needed clothes. People needed education. People needed dignity. Remember, we come from an ancestry of slaves. We needed those type of things. And even in the mid-1960s, we couldn't even get those things. Remember that it took us to the mid-1960s in order to be able to drink water together, in order to be able to sit on the same bus and sit wherever we want on the same bus. Okay, it took that long. It took that long for us to be able to be served at restaurants because of the color of our skin. It took that long until the mid-1960s. And even now, in 2025, you have people that are actually conjuring up ideas to separate us again as Blacks and whites, browns and whites. And we can't allow that because it's a form of hatred. It doesn't matter what color skin you are, where you come from. It's just pure hatred. It doesn't matter how you try to dress it up. You can't say that you have no hate in your heart or you don't hate people, but then you say that person over there is Asian, so I don't like them, or that person is Black, or their skin is brown, so I don't like them. So we can't continue the hypocrisy, and the only way that the hypocrisy gets better is if we all as a people work it out. Again, we let folks know we see you and we know the law, right? Again, self-defense is not violence. And awareness, damn sure, ain't aggression. Okay? Now, being that the children were going to school hungry, they started the breakfast program. Elders needed transportation, so they provided it. The Black Panthers provided it. A lot of people didn't know that. The reason why a lot of kids have breakfast at school now is because of the start of the breakfast program through the Black Panthers. People needed clothes, education, and dignity that I just talked about. Very important indeed. And the Panthers understood something timeless and fundamental. And what was that? That you cannot talk about freedom to a hungry child. You cannot talk about justice to a family without food. You cannot talk about equality to a community that is struggling to survive, right? Because at the end of the day, we know that food is not charity, right? Food is power. Food is stability. Food is life. This is why the free breakfast program scared the system more than anything else they did. Because when you feed people, what do? You empower them, right? Because they're no longer hungry. They're able to function, right? And empowered people ask questions. Now, I want to pause right here, not literally pause, but emotionally pause and say something very important. History itself is not about imitation. It's about understanding. Every generation faces a different fight. Every century presents new challenges, right? Every decade demands new strategies. The 1960s, what it did was it required one kind of resistance. Today requires another, right? And before we continue, I will pause here and we'll go into a quick music break and we will return shortly. All right, everyone. All right. Thank you all for chilling in the background. I appreciate you all. And thank you for appreciating my crying baby in the background, but he is just as miserable. But hey, the reality of it, folks, is that some of us women, you can't really get anything done any other way. So a lot of folks record their videos and they have a lot of filters in the background. And this time I decided for the first time to not do any filters because if not, I won't get any lives done and I won't talk to you all about the information that I want you guys to grasp. So that's why I choose to do my lives just as unedited as it is, and it is what it is. If folks want to hang out, they hang out. If not, not. And we will continue our chat here, our history chat, in just one moment. Because if there's any women hanging out in the background, y'all know that when babies don't want to hush, they not gonna hush. And it don't matter what you do to try to hush them, they just not gonna hush. And so if you want to get anything done, every woman knows that we got to do a million things to keep a baby hushed. You got to give them things to rip up. You got to give them books to read that they don't read. And you got to distract them with everything you can find. But sometimes you can't even find anything to distract the baby with. So they just keep fussing, especially when they sick. Here, take this one right here. So anyways, that's the deal with that. I'm going to attempt to continue with you all here. You might hear some toys in the background, but I'm going to see how that goes. Anywho's. All right. So, like I had left off, the 1960 required one kind of resistance, and today it requires another, right? And pretending that we copy the past exactly is just as dangerous as pretending the past never happened. So I respect the fight of the 1960s deeply. I honor it, of course, and I study it. But I live in the present. And in the present, the conditions look different, right? But the vulnerabilities remain. There's a lot of police brutality that still exists. Economic inequality still exists. Food insecurity still exists. Displacement still exists. Criminalization of poverty still exists. So when people say, why bring this up now? The answer is very, very, very simple. Because the conditions are still here. Look at the administration. Look at what's happening. History is repeating itself. I may sound crazy now. I won't sound crazy 3 years from now. History is not repeating because people failed. History is repeating because lessons were ignored. That is why I identify, as you all know, if you've been here, subscribe to my channel, that I started this topic of peace panthers, okay? So I identify as a peace panther because I believe peace is the best way. And I don't believe fighting or trouble or getting into any type of squabbles in order to make your point is necessary. So not as a rejection of Black Panthers, right? But as an evolution of the ideology, okay? So the foundation was laid in the 1960s. The blueprint still exists. But the tools, unfortunately, but maybe fortunately, must change, right? Peace Panthers believe in community protection through care, education, mutual aid, and self-sufficiency. So no chaos, no war, no violence involved, just pure responsibility. At 39 years old, I understand that wisdom looks different than rebellion, right? Strength looks different than aggression, and power looks different than force. Power today looks like feeding people, right? In today's society, power looks like owning land. Another way that power looks strong, power looks like growing your own food, right? Power looks like educating your own children. Power looks like making sure families don't go without. That is why, through my current Negro Crisis organization, I run a milk program out of pocket, providing milk to families in need. Now, no spotlight, no applause, no expectation of recognition, because service does not need an audience, right? We know that. This is not a charity. It is a continuation. It is the same philosophy that the Panthers lived by. It is the same philosophy Fannie Lou Hamer lived by. She herself understood that the political rights mean nothing if people are starving, so she focused on land, she focused on food, she focused on sustainability. That is not what you would call an outdated thing. It's a future thinking, right? It's something that's happening in the moment. And I do thank you all for hanging out, folks who know I have a crying baby in the background with a cold, that it doesn't matter what I give to him, can't hush him up, but that's just the reality that we face in life. And unfortunately, we have to come to grips with our realities that we can't change. It's called the trying to control the uncontrollable. Indeed. So anywho's, Fannie Lou Mayer, she knew that, you guys are going to run me here. Fannie Lou Mayer knew, okay, that land and food was very important. So she focused on sustainability. Okay, again, like I said, it's not outdated thinking. That is future thinking. So when I speak about buying land, whether in Colorado, elsewhere, or to grow food and provide vegetables to Black and brown communities, I am not dreaming. I am planning. Land creates autonomy, and food creates independence. Community creates resilience. And what comes after that? And resilience is what our ancestors fought for. They made no excuses, and they let nothing come in their way. Our ancestors did not struggle for nothing. They did not endure for nothing. They did not sacrifice for nothing, but they also did not fight so that we could freeze history in time. They fought so that we could adapt, so that we could evolve, so that we could think critically. That is why I do not want followers. That's not my thing. I want thinkers. I want thinkers, people who use their brains. I want thinkers. So take what I say, take what you know, take what you've lived. Put that all together. Make it make sense for you, not for me. Not for me, for you. Agreement is not required, but independent thought is. Because movements collapse when people stop thinking for themselves. This is not about worshiping the past. This is about learning from it. And if you want to call this a revolution, then call it a peace revolution. A revolution of knowledge, a revolution of care, a revolution of preparation. No trouble, no war, no problems, just history told honestly. Just responsibility taken seriously. Just community put first. You cannot control the uncontrollable, but you can control what you learn. You can control what you teach. And you can control how you serve. And that power, no system can ever take away. Now, the Black Panthers laid the foundation. Peace Panthers will carry the torch. Not with fire, not with fear, but with true purpose. History lives through us. And, shall I say before I leave you all, that how we carry that history forward, it matters. So I thank you all for tuning in to this history broadcast. If you all enjoyed the information that you learned, even if it was slightly just a little bit, go ahead and subscribe if you wish to do so. It is free to do so, so do it if you wish. But if you don't, no problem. I shall see you on the next adventure. Have a beautiful and blessed day, everyone. Ciao, ciao.